y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Moonlight Gala collection by F.U.N. Lacquer. This collection is available right now exclusively at Live Love Polish, and it was sent to me for review. If you're planning on picking up the entire set, you can save $10 by using coupon code Moonlight10. I'll leave that down in the description box as well as an affiliate link if you're interested. So first I want to talk about the packaging. Each bottle will come in this super gorgeous holographic box, which makes it great for collecting or gifting. So first up is Flashing Lights, and this is described as a gray or white holographic polish with red and copper shimmer. So this does have a fair amount of holographic glitter running throughout, which kind of grays out that base. So I would say that this leans a little bit more gray than white, but it is super light. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Flashing Lights swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one does start out fairly sheer. It also has a ton of different glitters and shimmer elements in there, so it is maybe a slight bit gritty. Not hard to apply at all, but worth mentioning. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how it builds up for me with that second coat. 2 coats really pushes this one right to the edge of being completely opaque. I think it's going to be down to personal preference and application method if you prefer this one at 2 or 3. I am going to go ahead and let this dry and then show you how it built up for me with that third and final coat. So here's a look at that third coat. I'm just going in for a nice quick third coat, and it does for sure bring this one completely opaque for me. It does also intensify that red or copper shimmer. This one does dry down a little bit dull, so I do recommend going in with your favorite glossy top coat. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat, and then this is my final swatch photo at an angle in that direct sunlight. So next up is Invite Only, and this is another really gorgeous light and wintry shade. This one is described as a silver holographic polish with fuchsia and purple shimmer. So you can see there that purple shimmer is totally popping in the bottle. I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick look at the brush shot, and then I'll show you how Invite Only swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at my first coat. This one is fairly sheer as well. I think if you wanted to, you could totally use this as a topper over any color in your collection. It's going to add a little bit of that purple shimmer as well as a really strong holographic flare. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a look at my second coat. I did go in for just a nice normal second coat here. I have every amount of faith that it's going to build up really quickly on itself. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry. I do still have a little bit of visible nail line kicking, so I'm going to show you how it built up for me with a third coat. So here's a look at my third and final coat, and this one brings it right to the edge of being opaque. At some angles I did still have some nail line, but that really strong shimmer really helps it look more opaque anyway. So here's a quick look from a different angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. You can see all of that holographic really peeks out in natural sunlight, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle again in that direct sunlight. So next up is Paparazzi, and this is, no lie, a favorite of mine. This is described as a glitter polish with reflective sterling silver flakes and bronze holographic micro glitter. So this isn't a bit of a clear base, but those flakes are really on the larger side, which I love. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Paparazzi swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. This one is a pretty sheer. It is pretty much a glitter polish in a clear jelly base, so it's going to take a little bit to build up. If you wanted to, you could totally sponge it on, and that would make for maybe a little bit more of a denser application. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how it built up for me with a second coat. 2 coats for sure adds more of those gorgeous flakies. This polish was amazing in pretty much any lighting. In natural shade, you're going to get more of the reflective of the gold, but in every other lighting, all of that holographic comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and build this one up with a third coat. 3 coats pretty much brings this one completely opaque. Maybe at extreme angles you could see a little bit of visible nail line. If you're not into that, I do recommend sponging this one on, but it is definitely a beaut. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat, and it's just so reflective and pretty. And this is my final swatch photo at an angle, again in that direct sunlight. So next up is Best Dressed, and this is another for sure favorite of mine. This is described as a red jelly polish with iridescent flakes and holographic micro glitter. So you can see all those flakes there just like they look in the bottle. That's exactly how it translates to the nail. It almost looks like a fire opal. Pretty, pretty. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Best Dressed swatched on my natural nail. This one is in a red jelly base, so if you're not familiar, it does mean that it just goes on maybe a little bit more sheer to help build up the depth on that flakies, but it is is pretty pigmented. One coat went on nice and smooth. I had a ton of flakes. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up with that second coat. So here's a look at my second coat. Just a nice normal second coat does add a ton of depth. If you're not opposed to maybe a little bit of visible nail line showing, I think you could totally get away with 2 coats. I did have a bit of a wayward flaky there, but I just cleaned it right up with acetone and a cleanup brush. So here's a quick look at my third coat. I did opt to go in for 3. I really love the depth here, and of course it adds more of those glitters and flakes, which I am about. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat and my final swatch photo. I think this one would look amazing with a matte top coat too. So next up is the namesake of the collection. This is Moonlight Gala. So this one is described as a cobalt blue polish with a bright blue shimmer and holographic micro glitter. So this is a really cool winter polish. It does have a very strong blue shimmer in there. I'll go ahead and show you a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Moonlight Gala swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one does go on a little bit sheer as well. It does dry down a tiny bit darker than it applies, which is definitely going to help the opacity there. So one coat makes for a nice even base. I'll go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. So here's a look at my second coat. I did opt to go in for maybe a little bit of a thicker second coat, and this one again is going to be down to personal preference. It was really close to being completely opaque in 2. I am going to go ahead and complete this coat, let it dry, and then show you how it built up for me with my third coat. So here's a look at my third and final coat. I do think it's worth it just to go in for that extra coat. I think it just amps up that coverage a little bit, and of course adds maybe more of that really intense shimmer plus that gorgeous holographic glitter. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. Definitely another one I do recommend taking the time for a glossy top coat for. And this is my final swatch photo at an angle again in that direct sunlight. So last up today is RSVP, and this is another really cool favorite of mine. So this one is described as a purple holographic polish with multi-chromatic fuchsia to green shifting shimmer and a holographic micro glitter. I don't know if it's showing up there in the bottle, but at certain angles, especially in maybe dimmer lighting, all that really cool shift comes out, and I think it looks amazing on this holographic base. So here's a quick look at that first coat. This one does start out fairly sheer as well. I was really expecting to need 3 coats for this one, but I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. So here's a look at my second coat. It did push this one right over the edge into being completely opaque. It dries down really well, and I was really impressed and happy with the coverage at 2. When that green shimmer pops off this purple base, it's kind of like the coolest thing ever, and then you get it out in direct sunlight and it's all hollow in your face. So here's my final swatch photo at an angle again in that direct sunlight. So that does wrap up my swatch and review of the Moonlight Gala collection. Again, these are available right now and they're exclusive, so if you're interested, definitely hop over and check them out. Thank you so much to Live Love Polish for sending them over. If you're interested in direct affiliate links, I do have those available on my blog. I do make a small percentage of the purchase price and it doesn't cost you anything extra, so I do definitely appreciate the support. Anyways, if you're interested in seeing any more photos of any of the polishes shown here today, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.